why I will never work a 9 to 5 again. So I thought I would give my take on this topic. And my take is going to be flip side. It's going to be the pros of working a 9 to 5, and it's going to be the cons of working a 9 to 5. Because guess what? It's pros and cons to both. Even if you're somebody out here and you hate a 9 to 5, if you hate a 9 to 5, it's something you're missing out by not doing that 9 to 5. And if somebody out here who loves a 9 to 5, it's something that you're missing out by loving that 9 to 5. It's pros and cons to everything. So let's go over a few pros and cons of a 9 to 5. And then at the end of the video, I'm gonna give my take on why I can't work a 9 to 5, or why I think that people should strive to not work a 9 to 5, possibly. So what are the pros? One pro is stable income. Quote, I'm using quotes with that. Other entities consider that stable income. People like loan officers who will loan you money for a car or loan you money for a house, things of that nature. They consider a 9 to 5 job as stable income, opposed to someone who's working a gig job or has their own business that may not be as stable when it comes to the eyes of a bank or someone loaning money. So that's number one. Stable also because typically you're going to receive a regular and predictable paycheck every single week, 2 weeks. Some people get paid every month. But bottom line, it's considered stable income. That's number one. Number two, you have a routine going. At the end of the day, you have a consistent schedule. You heard the terminology we're using here is 9 to 5, meaning that you go in at 9, you leave at 5. It's something stable. It's something that helps maintain some people's work-life balance, believe it or not, because some people need that stability. They need that routine in their life. If they don't have that, things can go awry. Not only that, truthfully speaking, people who think that they don't have a 9 to 5 and they'll have all this time, free time to do extra stuff and to be more productive, it has been studies shown that they actually become less productive, meaning that even though they have more time, they actually have less production during that extra time that they have. So that's number two. You get a routine going. Number three, I would say, is the benefits that come with the job. Those benefits are health insurance, retirement plans, you have vacation, you have sick time. So those sorts of health benefits come with having a 9 to 5 job, right? If you're on your own, check it out. Those benefits, quote unquote, health benefits or whatever benefits you consider them, those are very expensive if you don't have a 9 to 5. Trust me, very expensive. So having a job, the benefits, you have a 401k, typically they match what you put in to a certain percentage. So those are the benefits that come with having a job. You also have progression throughout your career, possibly, meaning that you have the opportunities to get promoted. So if you're doing really well on your job, you're being an outstanding performer, you have the ability to increase your wages as time goes on. You also have the ability to increase your wage if you leave one job where you have experience and you go to another one. So that is career progression. Typically you have career progression. And then the last one I'm going to mention is you have social interaction. So every day you're going to job, that could be a pro and it could be a con, right? But let's just say it's a pro. You're going to your job, you're meeting with colleagues, you're sometimes establishing friends if you really like the people you work with or somebody you work with. Some people have that best friend at work. And so they have social interaction. Whereas though, if they were by themselves or they didn't have a job, they would pretty much somewhat be a loner or be by themselves. Some people like that. I don't mind that personally. I can be social and I could be by myself. And so that could be a pro or a con, but let's just say it's a pro. Now, what are the cons to having a job? The cons to having a job is, number one, you have a rigid schedule. So your schedule is limited to that particular job. So you have to go in, let's say, from 9 to 5. If you don't work from home, you have to go in, and you have a 9 to 5 schedule, and you got to stick to that schedule. And during that time, if you are a productive person, you could be doing other things on that time, right? And if you're just somebody who doesn't like to be bossed around or told what to do or be on someone else's schedule, you like to have that flexibility. You don't have that. You have a rigid schedule. And trust me, that could be daunting. Number 2 is the commute. It's typically, depending on where you are, you have a 30-minute hour commute one way. Some people have even more. Some people have an hour and a half, 2 hours. And let's talk about it. That 30-minute commute, even if you have a 30-minute commute, that commute could turn into 2, 3, 4 hours depending on traffic. So the commute itself is something that is a definite con. Not only is it a con for the commute, but you also got to pay for gas. You have to pay for the wear and tear in your car. Again, you have to pay for your time just because you're actually commuting somewhere, you're going somewhere. You have to go physically. You have to deal with the headache of dealing with everybody on the road, the traffic, drivers out there that will piss you off with road rage. So the commute. Number 3 is it can be pretty much repetitive. I'm gonna say repetitive and just not challenging. It can get repetitive and not challenging. Bottom line, where it gets just, monotone, where you're just going into work and you're just going through the motions every day. You're going in and doing a 9 to 5 job, and it's the same thing. It's boring. It's not challenging. And it's really maybe even no upward mobility. You just don't have time. This is, I would say, number 4, you don't have control over your schedule. I kind of mentioned this before with number 1, but you just can't pretty much maneuver how you want to maneuver around that schedule. You have a rigid schedule where you're going in 9 to 5. You can't do what you want to do. And the number 5 is the big one, is work-life balance. Pretty much at the end of the day, it's difficult for some people balancing their work-life balance. That's very important. Sometimes people are just work, and sometimes people are just, work over their relationships, work over their family, stress from the work. It's just something that can really impede your work-life balance. So those are pretty much the pros and the cons to having a job. And I would say another con to having a job over being a pro is that your job has a lot of power over you if you just have that one job. Number 1, they have power over you because you're relying on them for their benefits, because that's very expensive. You're relying on them for your money. And that is a lot of power you're putting in someone else's hands, a company. And we all know nowadays you can't trust a job, especially if it's a company that is not something that's government related, where you're working for your state or federal government. If you're working for a company that is a private company that's on the S&P 500, that's being traded publicly, you are putting a lot of faith in that company. And nowadays you can't trust a company for anything. A company will let you go at the drop of a dime. So in my opinion, that's a lot of faith you're putting into a company. And it's something that you really can't rely on. You can't rely on a company nowadays. Back in the day, like when my parents were coming up, and especially my grandparents, you could work at one job and you could retire. Nowadays, it's not like that. We don't know when our last day is going to be at that particular job. I think everybody's understanding that and everyone's feeling that. So when it comes to having your own business, I'm going to get into another video and discuss that, because a lot of people are glorifying having your own business, but people who know about having your own business, sometimes, most of the time, it can be harder than just having a job. It's not as sexy as what the internet is portraying it to be. Trust me, I know. But it also can be very rewarding for somebody who has their own business. If you're a grinder, if you're a go-getter, if you're somebody who likes to work and likes to grind and hustle, and you're somebody who doesn't like being told what to do, if you're somebody who doesn't like having your faith in someone else's or a company's hands, if you're somebody who doesn't like to, quote unquote, kiss butt inside of a workplace and act like you like people, then not having a 9 to 5 could be something that's very important to you. So That's my take on 9 to 5. That's the pros and the cons. Me personally, would I rather have a 9 to 5 or would I rather have a business? To me, I'd rather have both. I'd rather have a 9 to 5 and a business, because then you have multiple streams of income and you're getting it in multiple ways, because that business can be just as bad as that job. All right. Like, comment, subscribe, be healthy, wealthy, wise. Talk to you guys tomorrow.